の時間なのだ。この動画は英語に少しでも慣れたい音や心地よい声でぐっすり眠りたい音にぴったりなのだ。ヘッドホンやイヤホンを使うともっとリラックスできるかもしれないのだ。でもね、寝る準備ができたらそのまま聞いてリラックスしてほしいのだ。聞きながら眠っちゃっても全然大丈夫なのだ。それじゃあ一緒にリラックスした時間を楽しむのだ。ではでは始めるのだ。
The heart of the forest. Tom and Lucy loved to explore the world around them. Every weekend, they would pack their bags with snacks, water, and a notebook to document their adventures. One sunny morning, while walking along the edge of their village, they discovered something unusual. Hidden behind a cluster of tall bushes was an old iron gate. The gate was rusty, and vines had grown around it, almost hiding it completely. Lucy pushed the bushes aside to get a better look. "What do you think is behind this?" she asked. Tom examined the gate closely. "It looks like no one has been here for years," he said. "Let's see if it opens." The gate creaked loudly as they pushed it. Beyond it was a narrow path lined with stones. The path seemed to lead into a dense forest that neither of them had explored before. Excited and curious, they stepped through the gate and began to follow the path. The forest was unlike anything they had ever seen. The trees were tall, their branches forming a thick canopy that let in only dappled sunlight. The air was cool and smelled of earth and leaves. As they walked, they noticed strange markings on some of the trees. The markings looked like symbols, but neither of them could tell what they meant. "Do you think someone lives here?" Lucy asked. Tom shook his head. "I don't think so. These symbols look old, like they've been here for a long time." They continued along the path until they came to a clearing. In the center of the clearing was an old stone well. The well was covered in moss, and the stones were cracked and weathered. Lucy peered over the edge of the well but couldn't see the bottom. "Do you think it still has water?" she asked. Tom picked up a small pebble and dropped it into the well. They waited, but no sound came back. "That's strange," Tom said. "It's so deep that we can't even hear the pebble hit the bottom." As they stood there, Wondering what to do next, they heard a soft rustling sound behind them. They turned quickly, but there was no one there. Then they heard it again, this time from a different direction. "Maybe it's just the wind," Lucy said, though she didn't sound convinced. They decided to move on, leaving the well behind. The path became narrower and harder to follow, but they didn't want to turn back. Soon, they came to a fork in the path. One way led downhill into a darker part of the forest, while the other seemed to climb uphill toward a small hilltop. "Which way should we go?" Lucy asked. Tom thought for a moment. "Let's go uphill. We might get a better view of where we are." The uphill path was steep and rocky, but they kept going. When they reached the top, they found a small, open space with a single tree in the center. The tree was unlike any they had ever seen. Its trunk was silver, and its leaves shimmered like gold in the sunlight. "This tree is amazing," Lucy said, walking closer to touch its trunk. As soon as she touched it, a soft humming sound filled the air. The leaves began to glow, and a small door appeared in the tree's trunk. Tom and Lucy looked at each other in surprise. "Should we open it?" Lucy asked. Tom nodded. "We've come this far. Let's see what's inside." Lucy gently pushed the door open. Inside the tree was a small, spiral staircase made of the same silver material as the trunk. Without hesitation, they began to climb down. The staircase seemed to go on forever, but eventually, they reached the bottom. They found themselves in a large underground chamber. The walls sparkled as if they were covered in tiny crystals, and the air was filled with the sound of water dripping. In the center of the chamber was a pedestal, and on the pedestal was a small, glowing orb. "What do you think this is?" Lucy asked, walking toward it. "I don't know," Tom said. "But it looks important." As Lucy reached out to touch the orb, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Who dares to enter my domain?" Startled, they looked around but saw no one. Then, a figure appeared, seemingly out of thin air. It was a tall man with a long robe that shimmered like the walls of the chamber. His eyes glowed faintly, and he held a staff made of the same silver as the tree. "We didn't mean to intrude," Lucy said quickly. "We were just exploring." The man studied them for a moment. Few have found their way here, he said. This is the heart of the forest, and this orb holds its power. Only those who prove themselves worthy may take it. Tom and Lucy glanced at each other. What do we have to do? Tom asked. The man smiled faintly. You must complete 3 tasks. The first is to show your bravery. The second is to demonstrate your wisdom. And the third is to prove your kindness. They nodded, ready to accept the challenge. For your first task, the man said, you must retrieve a golden feather from the nest of the great eagle. It lives on the highest peak of the mountain. The man waved his staff, and the room shifted around them. Suddenly, they were standing at the base of a tall mountain. Above them, they could see a large bird circling near the summit. We can do this, Lucy said. Let's start climbing. The climb was difficult. The path was steep, and loose rocks made it slippery. The wind grew stronger as they went higher, but they didn't give up. When they finally reached the top, they saw the great eagle sitting in its nest. Its feathers shimmered in the sunlight, and its eyes were sharp and intelligent. Tom and Lucy approached slowly, not wanting to startle the eagle. We need one of your feathers, Lucy said softly. May we take one? The eagle studied them for a moment before plucking a golden feather from its wing and dropping it at their feet. They thanked the eagle and carefully climbed back down the mountain. When they reached the base, the man appeared again. You have shown bravery, he said. Now for your second task. Solve this riddle. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I? Tom and Lucy thought hard. After a moment, Tom said, an echo. The man nodded. You are wise. For your final task, you must show kindness. A lost traveler is wandering the forest. Help them find their way. Once again, the room shifted, and they found themselves back in the forest. After walking for a while, they heard someone calling for help. They followed the voice and found a young boy sitting on a rock. He looked tired and scared. We'll help you, Lucy said, smiling warmly. Where do you need to go? The boy explained that he had gotten lost while looking for berries. Using their map and compass, Tom and Lucy guided him back to the village. The boy thanked them and ran to his family, who were waiting for him. The man appeared one final time. "You have proven yourselves worthy," he said. "The power of the heart of the forest is now yours." The glowing orb floated toward them. When Lucy touched it, she felt a warm energy flow through her. "What happens now?" she asked. "The forest will protect you, as you have protected it," the man said. "Use its power wisely." Tom and Lucy returned home, the orb safely in their hands. They knew their lives would never be the same, and they promised to use the gift of the forest to help others. The Hidden Legacy of the Forgotten Castle. Tom and Lucy were excited about the weekend. Every Saturday, they explored new places near their village, and this time, they had heard rumors about an abandoned castle hidden deep in the hills. The castle was said to be surrounded by a mysterious fog and filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered. "We should leave early," Lucy said as they packed their bags. "It might take us the whole day to find the castle." Tom nodded. "I've packed snacks, water, a flashlight, and a rope. Just in case." The morning sun was bright as they set off. The air was cool, and the birds sang cheerfully. They followed an old path that led them past the village boundary and into the hills. The farther they went, the quieter it became. The only sounds were their footsteps and the rustling of leaves. After an hour of walking, they reached a fork in the road. One path led into a dark forest, while the other climbed a steep hill. "Which way should we go?" Lucy asked, looking at their map. Tom studied the map carefully. "The castle is supposed to be hidden. If I were hiding something, I'd put it in the forest." Lucy agreed, and they turned onto the forest path. The trees grew closer together as they walked, their branches forming a thick canopy that blocked out most of the sunlight. It felt like entering another world. The air was damp, and the ground was covered in moss. "This place is kind of creepy," Lucy said, holding onto her bag tightly. Tom laughed nervously. "It's just a forest. There's nothing to be scared of." As they continued, they began to notice strange carvings on some of the trees. The carvings looked like symbols, and many of them were shaped like animals or stars. "What do you think these mean?" Lucy asked, tracing one of the carvings with her finger. "I'm not sure," Tom replied. "But they're definitely old. Maybe someone lived here a long time ago." After another hour of walking, they came to a clearing. In the middle of the clearing was a stone archway, covered in vines. Beyond the archway, they could see the faint outline of a tall structure. "Do you think that's the castle?" Lucy asked, her voice filled with excitement. "It has to be," Tom said. "Come on." They passed through the archway and found themselves in front of a massive castle. The walls were covered in ivy, and many of the windows were broken. A large wooden door stood at the entrance, slightly ajar. "Do you think it's safe to go inside?" Lucy asked. Tom shrugged. "Only one way to find out." They pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was cool and smelled of dust and old wood. The castle was silent, except for the faint sound of dripping water. They were standing in a large hall with a high ceiling. Broken chandeliers hung above them, and the floor was covered in dirt and fallen leaves. "This place is huge," Lucy said, looking around. "Where should we start?" Tom pointed to a staircase on the far side of the hall. "Let's go up. Maybe we'll find something interesting." The staircase creaked under their weight as they climbed. On the second floor, they found a long corridor lined with doors. Most of the doors were locked, but one at the end of the hallway was open. Inside, they found what looked like an old library. Shelves filled with dusty books lined the walls, and a large desk stood in the center of the room. On the desk was an open book, as if someone had been reading it. "This is amazing," Lucy said, picking up one of the books. "Some of these look like they're hundreds of years old." Tom walked over to the open book on the desk. The pages were filled with strange symbols and drawings of the castle. In the corner of one page, there was a sketch of a hidden door. "Lucy, look at this," he said, pointing to the sketch. "It looks like there's a secret room in the castle." Lucy studied the drawing. "It's behind a wall in the main hall. Do you think we can find it?" "We have to try," Tom said. They hurried back to the main hall and examined the walls carefully. After a few minutes, Lucy noticed something strange. One section of the wall sounded hollow when she tapped it. "This must be it," she said. Tom pushed against the wall, and to their surprise, it moved. Behind it was a narrow staircase leading downward. "Let's go," Tom said, turning on his flashlight. The staircase spiraled down into the darkness. The air grew colder as they descended. At the bottom, they found themselves in a large underground chamber. The walls were lined with torches that lit up as they entered, casting a warm glow over the room. In the center of the chamber was a pedestal, and on the pedestal was a small chest. The chest was made of gold and covered in intricate carvings. "Do you think it's safe to open it?" Lucy asked. Tom hesitated. "There's only one way to find out." He carefully lifted the lid. Inside the chest was a key and a rolled-up piece of parchment. The parchment was a map, showing a hidden passage that led to another part of the castle. "This is incredible," Lucy said. "It's like a real treasure hunt." They followed the map to the hidden passage, which led them to a small, hidden room. Inside the room was a collection of artifacts, old weapons, jewelry, and a beautiful crown. "This must have belonged to the people who lived here," Tom said. "It's amazing." As they were examining the artifacts, they heard a soft noise behind them. Turning around, they saw a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. The figure stepped into the light, revealing an old man with a long beard and a kind smile. "Who are you?" Lucy asked, startled. The man chuckled. "I am the guardian of this castle. Few have been brave enough to find this room." "We didn't mean to intrude," Tom said quickly. "We were just exploring." The guardian smiled. "You have shown courage and curiosity, and for that, I will share the secret of this castle with you." He explained that the castle had once been home to a wise king and queen who loved their people. The artifacts in the room were part of their legacy, left behind for those who were worthy to find them. "Take this," the guardian said, handing them a small, golden amulet. "It is a symbol of your bravery and kindness. Wear it, and it will guide you on your future adventures." Tom and Lucy thanked the guardian and promised to keep the secrets of the castle safe. As they left, the castle seemed to come alive around them. The walls shimmered, and the air felt warmer. When they stepped outside, the fog had lifted, and the sun was shining brightly. They looked back at the castle one last time before heading home, knowing they had experienced something truly extraordinary.